esteemed President and Secretary of the Pioneer Kumaraswamy College, Mr. P. Kumaraswamy, my colleague speakers, Dr. Neelakanta Pillai and Dr. K. Padma Kumar, Mrs. Lata Kumaraswamy, my distinguished student and advocate, Mr. Raja Kuncharam, distinguished principal of this college, Dr. J. Sekaran, distinguished vice principal, Dr. Rixin, Tasnavis, learned professors, faculty members, dear students, friends, ladies and gentlemen. After listening to the wonderful speech of Dr. Neelakanta Pillai, which gave almost the full biography and the contributions of the Dr. Padmanabhan in chaste Tamil, I was remembering the day when I got introduced to speak in Tamil in the Manonmaniam Sundarram University region. It's in a lighter vein, I would like to share with all of you that in the year 2002, February, Dr. Sivanti Adityan's college, Sipa Adityanar College at Tiruchendur, they sent a few people in their governing board to meet me when I was Vice Chancellor in Manonmani Sundarram University. And they said that Dr. Sivanti Adityan wanted me to come for, though they have 2 or 3 other institutions they wanted me to come for, the biggest event of that college. I think it must have been a college day in which Dr. Sivanti Adityan himself and his family, his wife and son, would participate. And they also wanted me to attend that function. The first institution after I assumed office as Vice Chancellor. I said, I don't know. I have to learn my job now. So I cannot promise that. At least I thought that at least for a few months, I would like to sit in my office and do my job. But they said, whenever you decide to go out, let the first institution be the Sipa Adityanar College. In the meanwhile, I was an alumnus of ST Hindu College. So people in Hindu College, they came and met me, particularly the principal, Dr. Krishnan, and he himself came along with a few other colleagues. And Dr. Krishnan said that, sir, we want you to come on 31st of December 2001, because I assumed office on 19th of December. Again, I had the same difficulty, I said. But I said, I will come sometime in March. He said, March, I will not be the principal, because I am going to retire on December 31. So we want our alumnus Vice Chancellor to come there when I am there in office as principal. It was very sentimental and emotional. I agreed to it. I did not accept the request of Dr. Sivanti Adityan to go to that institution as a first guest after I assumed office as first. There it is very interesting. It was about 3,000 students sitting in an open air ground. Dr. Sivanti Adityan, his wife, and his son Balasubramanian Adityan, they were all with me. I was the chief guest there. Dr. Sivanti Adityan, the principal of the college, all of them spoke in English. Every student was listening. There was no problem. But when I started speaking, there was little murmuring, and students were little restless. So then I asked the principal what exactly is the problem. And the principal said that they want you to speak in Tamil. You are speaking in English. I said, I didn't know that. So it's a higher education institution. People all would be able to follow. They will be able to, he said they will be able to follow, but they are more comfortable and happy to listen to a speech in Tamil. So then, to reconfirm that, I asked the 3,000 crowd of students that, what do you want? I was ready to speak only in English, but do you want me to speak in Tamil or English? Chorus, Tamil, Tamil, Tamil. Students are all interested in speaking in Tamil. So, for the first time, I had a prepared talk in English, and I had to make a speech in Tamil for nearly 1 hour. And students enjoyed it very much. And it was an experiment for me to speak in Tamil in Kanyakumari district for the first time. Usually we speak in our own language at home. So that is an unforgettable experience for me. That made me to ponder, to think over that what is the point in talking in English when the students are not interested or when the students are not able to follow. Our purpose is to convey the message. Message should go to them. So everybody, I had a lot of experiences in European countries, Japan, where I worked for several years. They were all speaking in their own language. 6 years I was working in Japan, and all meetings were held in Japanese language. Myself and 2 other distinguished colleagues of mine, one from America and one from Germany, all the 3 of us were only non-Japanese attending those important meetings without knowing anything about in Japanese. So we had later we made a request and we had an interpreter sitting in between us, a lady interpreter who used to explain the whole thing, what is going on. So then my talk in the midst of Dr. Sivanti Adityan in that college opened my eyes, and I decided that as long as I am Vice Chancellor here, I would speak only in Tamil to all the students of our colleges. I mean, that was a very successful thing. But today, my dear students, don't expect that I will be speaking in Tamil. I'm not going to speak in Tamil. I'm not ready for that. And another reason is that I am always known for my punctuality and a very disciplined life. Beulah knows that. So I have planned my speech for 27 minutes because they said 30 minutes. I can speak for 30 minutes. That's what they wanted. I do not want to exceed on that. When you talk extempore, you don't know how much time you're going to speak. Even the beautiful speeches, sometimes it exceeds the time which the organizers want. So I don't want to do that. So the broad subject of my talk today is holistic education, my experiences and reminiscences in the world of education. In fact, the principal only asked me, what is the topic on which you are going to speak? And because they have already collected the title of the speeches of these 2 distinguished people. And then later I thought that I will speak something relevant for the students, something important for the students, something which is missing among the students in the current times. That's why I gave this topic, holistic education. In the invitation, it is not printed. In the invitation, they have printed as chief guest address. So, but however, I would like to give an idea that this topic on which I'm going to speak is holistic education, முழுமையான கல்வி. My experiences and reminiscences in the world of education. கல்வி உலகத்தில் என்னுடைய அனுபவங்களும் என்ன சொல்றது நினைவுகளும் அதை பற்றி தான் நான் பேச போறேன். No. Dr. Padmakumar, he was very diplomatic and used bilingual, both Tamil and English. So எனக்கு தேவைப்பட்டதுன்னா அந்த மாதிரி இடத்துல I will also try to bilingual. Now, I really deem it a privilege to have been invited to take part in the Dr. K. Padmanabhan Centenary celebrations and Dr. K. Padmanabhan Centenary Lecture Series organized by Pioneer Kumaraswamy College, Nagarkoil. At the outset, I pay my high tributes to one of the illustrious sons of Kanyakumari district, Dr. K. Padmanabhan, who founded this reputed Pioneer Kumaraswamy College in the year 1967. I had no opportunity to be an alumnus. I envy the people who have studied here, because in 1965 itself, I got my degree and I went to Chennai. This college was started only in 1967. I extend my compliments to the Pioneer Kumaraswamy College, Nagarkoil, for their decision to organize this year-long celebration, centenary celebration, in honor of and memory of his founder, Dr. K. Padmanabhan. Though by profession, Dr. Padmanabhan was a medical doctor, his life history reveals, and it was again supported by the elaborate information given by Dr. Nilakanta Pillai about all his achievements. So his life history reveals that he was a dynamic and most talented person of varied interests. Besides, I have nostalgic memories of the trajectories created by the senior Kumaraswamy, the grandfather of the junior Kumaraswamy who is sitting with us. By his exemplary dedication and character and the great values he set in his profession of running several businesses and industries many decades ago, when I was a student in the school and college in Kanyakumari district. I am extremely happy that the legacy and the tradition created by the senior Kumaraswamy was continued by Dr. K. Padmanabhan and later by his son, the junior Kumaraswamy, the present president and secretary of the Pioneer Kumaraswamy College, Nagarkoil. The amazing contributions of today's hero, Dr. K. Padmanabhan, whose centenary celebrations we are organizing today, to the field of education as the founder of the Pioneer Kumaraswamy College, as a member of the syndicate of Madurai Kamaraj University, as a person associated with many educational institutions in Kanyakumari district, as a compassionate human being who has helped hundreds of individuals from the underprivileged families to get education. I admire the vision of Dr. K. Padmanabhan, who believed strongly that education is the primary tool for the advancement of the downtrodden, and established a college and a school which is looked after by Mrs. Lata Kumaraswamy very successfully, to provide opportunities for pursuing education for the underprivileged and poor children. What is the basic purpose of education? Friends, the true purpose of education is to bring profundity to one's expression, broaden one's perspective, and build in individuals a better approach to looking at life. Education, simply stated, is the process of gaining knowledge, learning forms of proper conduct, and acquiring technical competency in a specific field. It involves cultivating the mind and instilling values and establish and enable an individual to distinguish between right and wrong. Education helps us to understand between the right and wrong. Swami Vivekananda said, we want the education by which the character is formed, strength of mind is increased, and the intellect is expanded, and by which one can stand on one's own feet. Many people, my previous speakers, they said the importance laid by Dr. K. Padmanabhan on the character, discipline, so many virtues, all these things, this college has insisted, something unusual in these days. So I'm extremely happy that the Pioneer Kumaraswamy College has, from the beginning, from the days of the founder, has insisted on certain important values in life. My friends, we have been witnessing tremendous development in the sectors of education, science, and technology, the growth of opportunities in many fields, and we are proud that India is growing fast and we are recognized as one of the 4 fastest growing economies in the world. Despite all these developments, there is discontentment, disillusionment, and a feeling of discomfort when we compare ourselves to some of the developed nations. That is mainly because of declining character in all walks of life. Unfortunately, today, we do not have the selfless leaders like Mahatma Gandhi and comrades who gave everything for their nation and stood as the tallest leaders, reflecting an embodiment of character in public life for the youth to emulate. But we have developed, if you look at the scientific developments, technological developments, job opportunities, industries, several institutions, we have advanced much. I'm not talking about that. You must be seeing in the media every day about different scams occurring in government transactions. I'm worried that all these diseases can erode the confidence of the youth in character and righteousness. It will be doomsday if all our youth lose faith in the rule of law and come to the conclusion that dishonesty is the order of the day, and honesty and values cannot get anything in life. What is your role as youth of this country to change the situation and relieve our nation from the malady you are facing today? It is not only in Tamil Nadu. I'm not referring to Tamil Nadu. I'm referring to India, in different states in India. For which, to understand the situation in India, the students should read the newspapers, read the media, what is happening in Delhi state and other states, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, so many other states, what is happening. Tamil Nadu is far better when compared to those states. So the youth has a significant role to change the situation. Nelson Mandela, many of you must have known about this person, who was once South African president. Nelson Mandela says that education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. So education, knowledge is the most powerful weapon to change the world. So if you want to change the world, if you see that certain things are not good for the development of the country and you want to change it, then you should have information, you should have knowledge, for which education is the tool, according to Nelson Mandela. Dear students, you must have known and read about the South African leader who revolted against apartheid and injustice in a peaceful manner, following non-violence like Mahatma Gandhi. He was imprisoned by the white rulers of South African government and he spent 27 years in jail. I had visited the place, the Rose Island in South Africa, where Nelson Mandela was imprisoned for 27 years. But he still did not give up. He did not, he was not, frustrated. He was hopeful that things will change. He did not lose hope and give up. His silent revolution from the prison and magnetic changes in the minds of people, including the white rulers. Ultimately, Nelson Mandela was released from prison, and the people's will, when an election was held, people's will made him the president of South Africa at the ripe age of mid-70s, when he was around 72, 73 years old. He was elected as the president of South Africa. Nelson Mandela humorously said that, I quote, "In my country, we go to prison first and then become president," unquote. Naturally, when you fight against a mighty government for its misrule, one will get fear of the consequences. People are afraid to fight against the government. For that, Mandela said, "The brave man is not one who has no fears. He is the one who triumphs over his fears." To infuse confidence to his countrymen, Mandela said, "Do not judge me by my success. Do not judge me by my success. Judge me by how many times I fell down and got back again." Mahatma Gandhi believed education to be a lifelong process and meant it to unite man's all-round development. Martin Luther King, again, all students who are going to take up competitive examinations, etc., they should all know this. Martin Luther King, a great leader in America, emphasized that education must also train for one quick, resolute, and effective thinking. To think incisively and to think for oneself is very difficult. We are prone to let our mental life become invaded by legions of half-truths, prejudices, and propaganda. A great majority of the so-called educated people do not think logically and scientifically. Even the press, the classrooms, the platform, and the pulpit, in many instances, do not give us objective and unbiased truths. To save the man from the morass of propaganda is one of the chief aims of education. Education must enable us one to sift and weigh evidence to discern the true from the false, the deal from the real from the unreal, and the facts from the fiction. The function of education, therefore, is to teach one to think intensively and to think critically. But education which stops with efficiency may prove the greatest menace to society. The most dangerous criminal may be the man gifted with reason, but with no morals. Abraham Lincoln, while talking about the significance of truth, said, I quote, "I am not bound to win, but I am bound to be true. I am not bound to succeed, but I am bound to live by the light that I have. I must stand with anybody that stands right, and stand with him while he is right, and part with him when he was wrong." The way for a young man to rise is to improve himself in every way he can, never suspecting that anybody wishes to hinder him. Martin Luther King cautions again, if we are not careful, our colleges will produce a group of close-minded, unscientific, illogical propagandists consumed with immoral acts. Be careful, brethren. Be careful, teachers. Martin Luther King was concerned that our youth should make intensive and critical thinking to choose the right and discard the wrong. The same idea is embedded in the statement of Edmund Burke, who also said, I quote, "To read without reflecting is like eating without digesting," unquote. My young friends, you as students and youth must have awareness about this, about what is happening in and around your micro society and macro society. You must spare some of your time to reflect and think about the incidents happening around you and cultivate the ability of critical thinking and develop your unbiased and objective views on each of the happenings. All things which are circulated in the social media are not true. So you have to make critical thinking of what you read and what you watch. For example, I recall the horrific and sexual assault on a medical student. I don't know, the present generation of students must be very small children at that time. In the year 2012, a medical student called, her name is hidden, another name is given, Nirbhaya. So Nirbhaya was sexually assaulted by 4 or 5 people in a bus, which was empty, and 4 or 5 people in the bus. The bus was going around Delhi, and she was completely shattered, and she was thrown out of the bus by these people. Now there was a huge agitation. People became restless all over the country, Kanyakumari to Kashmir. youth at the time of, I think it was somewhere in December, extremely cold in Delhi and several parts of North India. But many youth came, many women came in the coldest nights, and they all were protesting against the incapability of the government to protect the life of that girl. Punishment of the offenders. Friends, what I want to impress upon you is that what was not possible by the National Commission for Women and the various NGOs working for justice for women in the previous decades was possible by by the groups of youth and women who protested against the government. Government acted because the whole country raised voice against it. But if you ask me whether these atrocities have stopped after the Nirbhaya movement, after the committee's report, after the law amendments, no, it has not stopped. It will never stop because crime will continue. Crime is eternal. As long as human beings are there, crimes will continue. Therefore, we have to be vigilant. We have to take care of the situation. Now, you must, again, the present day generation of students must be, though they might not have known about Nirbhaya, they must have heard about the recent incidents in Tamil Nadu. The Pollachi group sexual assault a few years ago, and the Anna University sexual assault a few months ago, just a few months ago. We still have, because these things are shown in the TV quite often. So students must have really seen that. We still have a long way to go to translate the words of equal justice for all, as envisaged in our constitution, into practice. But we should not lose hope and stop in despair. We should continue our mission to create awareness among our fellow citizens, and equality is not charity, but a constitutional right of all citizens of our country. Friends, in the UNDP's Human Development Report 2023-24, India is ranked 134th out of 193 countries. It is a dismal fact, very sad fact, that though this is an improvement from the previous rank of 135, now it is 134. 135 out of 191 countries in 2021. The Human Development Index is a summary measure of human development. It measures the average achievements in a country in three basic dimensions of human development: a long and healthy life, access to knowledge, and a decent standard of living. The Human Development Report emphasizes that people and their capabilities should be the ultimate criteria for assessing the development of a country, not economic growth alone. In Gender Inequality Index, gender inequality, that is discrimination between men and women, male and female. In that index, because this NGO examined in how many countries gender injustice is followed, and they found India has ranked 131 out of 148 countries in the World Economic Forum's Global Gender Gap Report 2025, slipping 2 places from its position last year. With a parity score of just 64.1%, India is among the lowest ranked countries in South Asia, according to the report released on June 12, 2025. Now, when on the matter of corruption, in Transparency International, which is an international NGO which examines the perception of people in the respective countries on corruption in their countries, India ranks 96th out of 180 countries. This CPI scores, that is corruption perception scores, index scores, countries on a scale of 0 to 100. 0 means highly corrupt, 100 means very clean. For example, countries like Sweden, Norway, they are the highest upper bracket of clean countries. And in Asia, we have one of the countries which is supposed to be very clean is Singapore. Even though India possesses great wealth in terms of material and human resources, the money the government spends does not entirely go towards the targeted goals. Hence, we get substandard men, substandard materials, and substandard services. If you open the newspaper every morning, you come across new scams and corrupt practices involving crores and crores of rupees of governmental money being misappropriated by means of corruption, kickbacks, and commission for the middlemen. It is sad to note that in all these tainted transactions, human entities in the highest position of bureaucracy or politicians play a vital role. These betrayers of the nation squander the taxpayers' money and the nation's wealth. The net result is that people do not get the materials and services worthy of the money we spend. For creating a developed nation, we need good governance, for which we require good human beings in all walks of life. We need able and honest leaders with integrity to guide our people. Where will you get these people of integrity? Will you import from abroad, just like when you want to go get good electronic goods? We import. So can we import people from good, honest people from other countries to practice honesty in our country? We have to produce good leaders and evolve a good nation by inculcating good values among our school children, college and university students like you all. I remember that our value of money, which should be utilized fully for the benefit of the institution. When I was a vice chancellor, we took a decision to construct some buildings, one for conference hall, and because there was no conference hall at all until I assumed office. They used to conduct the international conference even outside the university, in hotels. They hire halls, and now I decided to have a good air-conditioned conference hall. So conference hall and also a guest house, a beautiful guest house. We have wonderful guest house. Even the state government doesn't have. Now, at that time, I wanted, because this money is spent by the university. The government did not give the single money, university's money. I decided that we will not give it to the state PWD. PWD is normally asked to construct such buildings. I said that then our syndicate members said, and also university professors, they said, so the government will not allow, and because all these things are done in the previous also, in many other institutions also, particularly university is a public institution controlled by the government. So we have to give it to. I said, I'll try. The only reason is I'm not against PWD. My only fear and the reason, legitimate fear, is if we spend 100 rupees for anything, we will get only 10 rupees. 90 rupees will be spent on all other kickbacks, commissions to this man, that man, politician. I didn't want to lose the precious money of the university. Then they said, we are afraid that you will not succeed. Now, luckily, at that time, Dr. Thambidurai was the Minister for Education. I dashed at his office, fixing an appointment. I told him that you are not giving any money for developing infrastructure. It is our money. Thambidurai was junior in my university when I was PhD. He was also working 2 years before. I know him earlier. So I told him that, to be very frank, I don't want to give it to to public works department, because we will not get good buildings worth the money we spend. He said, so then he smiled and he said, so what is your alternative? I heard the central PWD is doing a much better job and we get quality worth building. So again he smiled. I said, I want your consent, permission, because people later on say that I have done it arbitrarily without consulting anybody. In any case, I will go to the syndicate and get the approval of the syndicate. Then he smiled and said, yes, you go ahead. He didn't have any other way anything else to say. So we should have complete trust, faith, and responsibility. Then it is possible. If you want to do anything honestly, because he knows my purpose is different. I wanted to have the best value for the money we are spending. Now, again, I'm talking about my whole focus is holistic education, honesty, integrity, discipline, values. So, in this context, I would like to share three incidents. After mentioning these three incidents, I would conclude, about which I had personal knowledge or experience during my stay abroad, during my visits abroad, and longer stay in countries like Japan. The first one happened about 37 years ago in the year 1988, when I went to Sydney in Australia for an international conference. The Australia is a country which was developed out of prisoners. I don't know how many people you are aware, because Australia was used by the British government as colony for the prisoners. The நாடு கடத்துறதுன்னு சொல்றதுக்கு ஒரே ஐடியா. அப்போ they were sent to Australia. So Australia was developed by prisoners. And Australia, when it was 200 years, celebrating its 200th birthday after discovery, after introduction of Australia, they wanted to have conferences on different fields, like in whatever area Australia was famous. For example, Australia was very famous for dairy goods. They had an international conference for dairy development. So utilization, value-added goods produced out of dairy. And like that, many such conferences. And one of the conferences was the International Conference on Bicentennial International Conference on Correction of Offenders. Because Australia was basically a country started with prisoners, people who have committed crimes, and they were sent from their countries as form of punishment. So, in that correctional conference, as a criminology professor from Madras University, I was invited by the Australian government. And I tell you that surprisingly, I was the only one invited from India by giving the entire airfare, my accommodation in Hilton Hotel for the whole conference, and it was held in Sydney. Now, coming to the incident. When I went to Sydney in Australia for an international conference, along with my wife, we're sitting here, we took a taxi from the Sydney airport to go to a friend's house in the main city. After we reached the destination, the meter in the taxi showed $25, 25 Australian dollars. The driver apologized to us after reaching our destination. He apologized to us and said that we need to pay only $20, as he knows the usual rate shown in the meter normally was about $20. Because he had no adequate knowledge about the short route and the location of the particular street, he had to drive by a roundabout route, and he owned his mistake and deducted $5 for his mistake. We were amazed and had a pleasant shock for our lives, as we had always experienced in India, the drivers demanding more and more than the meter rate. Those days in Chennai city, I don't know about the present situation. I want you to think about the conduct of this man. My dear students, I want you to ponder over the conduct of this driver. What are the reasons for him to apologize and reduce the charges from that of the meter rate, owning his mistake, even though we as foreigners do not know anything about their roads, distances to different places, and the meter in Japan? After my tenure of vice chancellorship from 2005 to 2011, as a full professor of victimology in the Tokyo University. This is also an experience with the taxi person, but taxi woman instead of taxi man. Taxi woman. I had to drop my son, my grown-up son, and his 4-year-old child from my house to the train station in my city, Metro City. From there, he had to go to the Tokyo airport to take his flight to Hong Kong. He was working in Hong Kong as a professor at that time. When we were nearing the train station in my city, another taxi came at a very high speed and dashed into our taxi, in which my grandson and son and I were sitting. Our taxi was hit terribly on the rear side and was completely damaged. All three of us were scared and screamed. The woman taxi driver apologized profusely and asked whether we were okay and whether the child was injured by the heavy jolt. Luckily, nothing happened physically to any of us except the mental shock of the accident. The driver collected my house address and office address and the phone numbers from me and went. My son took the long distance bus. So on the next day, around 7 p.m., one person came to my house with a big chocolate box. He apologized for the accident he caused. And he said that his taxi company sent him us to apologize for his rash driving and to ensure that we are all safe and fine. As he spoke in Japanese language, I could not understand anything, and I called my office manager at the university over the phone and asked my colleague to talk to a stranger and find out what it is. After talking for a few minutes, our manager told me that the person standing was the one who caused the accident, and his company sent him personally to visit us and apologize to us, and as a token of his apology, sent the chocolate box and asked us to accept the case. And next day, the taxi woman who took us to the railway station, she came again with the chocolate box, and she also profusely apologized for what has happened, and she wanted to reconfirm that we are safe. And she asked me whether my son or grandson had to go to a hospital in Hong Kong for any treatment, and whether any things have been damaged, and if there is any damage, then the insurance company will compensate the whole thing. I said my son and grandson, they are fine. Only then she insisted, that the insurance officer insisted to find out for my son. So I called my son and I asked him. He said, we are fine, there's no problem. Only thing is the stroller, the one which is used to for mobility of the baby, was completely damaged. That was over $500 US dollars. So I think Hong Kong dollars. So he said, that's the only thing, forget about the power. So I informed them that, but they did not leave. They said, you ask your son to take a photograph of damaged stroller, and also, if possible, the bill available, and also refund, again, care or stuff. So he sent it to the 2 3 days. I gave it, and within a week, I got a check for the total amount, which I sent it to my son. So that is now I cut short things. The third incident, which also I would like to mention, it is about, I don't know whether people at least history or international affairs, students of international affairs who are interested in it, they must have known about it. The great earthquake of Japan's influence earthquake, when we were living there several times, we used to see the earthquake. My wife used to get scared. So I got used to it. So the great earthquake and the place where Fukushima, a city called Fukushima, where the nuclear plants are located, and that got damaged, and earthquake and tsunami, it killed hundreds of times. More than 1,000 people have been killed. And the route from Tokyo airport by city, the road was completely broken. Road was broken. So it took several days to repair. So at that time, the people how they behaved, the entire humanity in different countries. For example, American media said, nowhere in the world we can see the kind of integrity and honesty of the people of Japan. Because normally when such disasters happen, what usually happens, not only in India, I'm not blaming India, even in developed countries like America, that has been acknowledged by the American media. The valuables of people who have been killed or who have been injured are completely taken away. And the media has reported that it never happened in Japan. And people were so orderly. when food was given, water was given for at least for a few days, the people used to stand at least about 3-4 kilometers. They had in order. Nobody wanted to overcome and collect it. So I have visited several countries, about 30-35 countries, but the one country which has impressed me throughout my life is Japan, because of their what shall I say, integrity, because of their honesty, because of their discipline in life. Now that have become, I think, one of the top colonies in the world. Now, coming to conclusion, I would like to conclude my young friends. We have a great responsibility, particularly I'm talking to teachers. We have a great responsibility to instill the values of industry with honesty, truth, and fearlessness, equality without discrimination, distinction of right from the wrong, truth. The young minds and helpers to learn not only in our classrooms, but through observation of our lives. I used to tell my students that criminology you can learn by referring to books, right? Like that, chemistry, physics, or whatever subject, sociology. But a way of life you cannot learn from books. It can be learned from observing people. There are people, human beings. We always say, I still remember the wonderful teachers in my school. Some of them, not all, some of them. College, still, I remember the disciplined teachers who have instilled discipline during my days. So teachers have a very great responsibility, not only to teach Shakespeare and poetry and other things, Ramayana or whatever it is, but they also have a big responsibility, good role models, so that your students will remember that this was the teacher who changed my life, who influenced me. Now, my dear young students, you have a great future as India is growing economically. But if you want to make a better India, you have to organize yourself and create public opinion on the ills of our society and make a peaceful revolution by means of good citizenship, as we witness in Japan. Good citizenship. Good citizenship. It's a very important word because a lot of meaning in it. Good citizen is a good citizen. A good citizen is a person who collects money and goes to the poll to vote for a particular party. He's not a good citizen. So we have very bad citizens in our country. How are we going to change? We will not get a good government. We will not get good schools. We will not get good hospitals. If we continue these things as today, I'm not referring to any particular part. I'm talking about the present situation with anguish, anger. So you should have anger. In your mind, you should raise your anger. I am not asking you to be violent to show your anger, but you should do it silently when you go to the poll box. Think and do the right thing. I wish to conclude with two wonderful quotes from Mahatma Gandhi and Rabindranath Tagore. Mahatma Gandhi, the father of our nation, said, I quote, let the first act of every morning be to make the following resolve for the day. I shall not fear anyone on earth. I shall not fear anyone on earth. Fear of punishment, fear of politicians, fear of others. I shall not fear anyone on earth. I shall fear only God. I shall not bear evil toward anyone, no enmity towards anyone. I shall not submit to injustice from anyone. I shall conquer untruth by truth. And in resisting untruth, I shall put up with all suffering. I shall put up, because people who want justice, they should be prepared to suffer injustice. You know that our freedom is not got just like by sitting in as a bed of roses. More or less the same way, Rabindranath Tagore in his Gitanjali said, I quote, where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, where knowledge is free, where the world is not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls, where the words come from the depth of truth, where tireless striving stretches its arms towards perfection,
where the clear stream of reason has not passed its way into the dreary desert sand of dead hand, where the mind is led forward by deep into ever widening thought and action, into the heaven of freedom. My Father, let my country awake. Unquote. With these words, my young friends, I wish the year-long centenary celebrations of Dr. K. Padmanabhan, a wonderful citizen of this country, an illustrious son of Kanyakumari, who have made significant contributions for the development of education in this part of our great country, or success. Thank you for your patience. And